Hey, what's up, everybody? I just wanted to take some time tonight to discuss why I believe staying natural is a great thing for you and your lifting journey. Now, I just want to start off this video with a caveat saying that I don't believe you are inherently better if you stay natural, and certainly I hold no judgment towards those who decide to go down the enhanced route and pursue their physique endeavors that way. But I plan on outlining sort of my training methodology and a logical argument to prevent anybody from making rash decisions early on in their lifting journey, and hopefully preventing somebody from making a decision that they ultimately regret later on in life. Now, for me, lifting is about the journey, right? And I understand that when I first started out, I was just concerned with the physique, right? The lifting weights part was just a means to an end so I could achieve the physique that I wanted to. I wanted to look like the video game characters. I wanted to look like the guys on the cover of Men's Health. I wanted to look like the starting NFL wide receivers, and I wanted to look like uh Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? I looked up to all the big enhanced bodybuilders, all the IFBB pros, and I saw that as sort of the epitome of what I wanted in life and what I wanted to get out of lifting. That quickly took a turn, and I started to love lifting for the process, right? To me, lifting is just a big experiment, and you can pull all of these training variables to see what works best for you and your situation at that given period of time. And so I fell in love with tracking my progress, and I was looking into the research behind what makes a muscle grow and what are the best practices for programming and even biomechanics and learning the underlying mechanisms of how the body adapts. And so for me, lifting has given me much fulfillment that way. And I'm going to go into detail later on why I believe that getting satisfaction out of the process of lifting is probably a much more sustainable and healthier approach to physique development rather than focusing on the outcome, focusing on the biceps, the abs, the vascularity, and whatnot. Now, for me, because I love lifting for the progress or for the process, I want decades of progress. I don't want a short stint of gains. And a lot of people who hop on either an oral or injectable steroid cycle, they will experience massive gains in the short term. And once those gains run out, they quickly find themselves looking for a higher dosage. The natural lifter really doesn't have to worry about hitting this hard plateau. You have your whole lifting career to make progress and learn how to adapt your training towards your needs, learn how to recover better, learn the different training principles, techniques, exercise selection, etc. You have your entire lifting career ahead of you to do that. Whereas when you take a cycle of anabolics, it's like tipping over an hourglass. Like the clock is ticking because, truth be told, your body cannot handle to carry that level of musculature for prolonged periods of time. I'm sure we all remember the video of the guy who tore his pec off the bone, incline bench pressing. Now, this is something that you really only see in enhanced lifters. And if you're a natural out there who is concerned about tearing a muscle while they're lifting, as long as you have appropriate technique and you're managing your fatigue well, that is very, very unlikely. However, when you choose to go down the enhanced route, the steroids grow your musculature, right? And bigger muscles are able to produce more force. Unfortunately, steroids don't grow the connective tissues in the joints that hold the whole system together and allow you to continue to train. So, Because these areas are also not well innervated, they oftentimes don't give rise or don't give a warning before they are about to go. And a lot of enhanced lifters are subject to plenty of training injuries just because the sheer amount of load they can handle in their workouts and their connective tissues and joints have not adapted at the same pace in order to keep up with that. And that kind of ties back into wanting long term progress rather than short term gains. If you're constantly injured and constantly having to take time off of training and go to surgery, come back, rebuild, that is not an exciting part of a lifting journey, in my opinion. And I want to be able to go to the gym, know that it's improving my health, and continue to make progress that way. Aside from the physical injuries to the musculature, there's also internal injuries going on to critical organs. I will link an article on WebMD that outlines all of the known side effects of anabolic steroids, but I'll just name a few here. And I'm sure if you've done research in this area or have kept up with the fitness industry, you've seen some of these issues come up in the world of bodybuilding. And we've unfortunately lost some very young, talented lifters because of these side effects. So, a few side effects are heart attack, stroke, high blood pressure, liver and kidney failure, cancer, and a weakened immune system. Now, that's not to say that everyone who takes anabolic steroids is guaranteed to experience one or more of those side effects, but the likelihood does increase substantially, and it also increases with the amount of time you're exposed to anabolic steroids. So, that is something definitely to consider before you make that decision. And for me personally, that is not something I want to risk. Like I said, I plan on lifting when I'm 60, when I'm 70, and I want to see those days where I can still walk into the gym and not be bedridden or having to go to dialysis or even worse, not around to see anything. The next thing I want to go into regarding enhanced versus natural lifting is the general lack of training knowledge that you see coming from the enhanced side of bodybuilding. And I believe this is for a few reasons. Number one being that a lot of these people started taking drugs when they were very early on in their lifting journeys, and they hadn't had any time to experiment with their training and their nutrition, and they haven't learned how to recover properly. But the anabolic steroids mask what they lack in these areas, and so they experience results regardless. And they chase more results by upping the dose of the steroids. Or let's say they did take a good 5, 8, 10 years of natural lifting and they got all their stuff together and they decided this is not good enough. I want to pursue this to the nth degree. I'm going to go on anabolic steroids. Now, all of a sudden, everything they do works. And this is a big misconception that I see being conveyed in the industry, that anabolic steroids are just the icing on the cake. Guys, this is not true. If you hear that, I want you to turn the channel off, unsubscribe, dislike. I know YouTube doesn't have that anymore, but this is a big pile of shit. And we can go back to a very famous study where they administered testosterone to uh, males who were resistance training, males who were not resistance training, and one group trained naturally, one group didn't lift at all and took steroids, and one group lifted and took steroids. And the group who did no lifting at all grew more muscle than the group who was lifting naturally. And it wasn't even close. It was a substantial amount of muscle. So if you can get results from not training at all, the training practices on the enhanced side are probably not very good. And even if someone has taken the time to do the proper natural training, if they are on anabolic steroids for a period of time, I believe that they can forget their roots. And you often see this. Guys in the industry all of a sudden jump from, standard progressive overload, preaching the basics, to fluff and pump exercises. and gimmicks, and you see these like CrossFit style compound workouts, and they're flashy and they look good, but they're really not getting results. And a lot of these naturals fall victim of these big followings, and they trust these guys because they have the physique and seemingly the confidence that they know what they're doing. But unfortunately, it's leaving a lot of lifters' physiques in the dust. Now, another reason that the training knowledge on the enhanced side probably suffers is because of what we mentioned earlier with the injury risk. So there's a lot of pump work being done. And to be fair, on paper, this theoretically makes sense because the limiting factor of what grows you muscle when you're enhanced seems to be how fast you can deliver nutrients to the muscle and how fast you can expose that area to the androgens that you're injecting. And so the more pump style training you do pumps more blood into the muscles and therefore increases the rate of blood flow and increases the rate at which the muscles are exposed to this anabolic environment that you're creating from an exogenous source. So a lot of these enhanced bodybuilders will do very high rep drop set style or superset style workouts, and this just does not grow muscles reliably in naturals. And if someone is natural and gets results doing this, they are the outlier, they're the exception and not the norm. Now, I want to take a moment to address the bad genetics argument and saying, well, I have terrible natural genetics. There's no way I'm going anywhere. I need steroids to make progress. And Greg Doucette has an old video of him saying ectomorphs should, first of all, supplement with testosterone, as if testosterone was just something you can buy off the shelf. And oh, it's a small supplement. It's just like creatine. It's just icing on the cake. No big deal. I think this is ridiculous. And I just want to give a little insight of where I started my lifting journey and how I've progressed so far. I started out at 6'1" and 130 pounds. Now, I'm not sure I have any pictures of me back then. If I do, I'll put them on the screen. But I want you to picture that. Like that is a rail thin. And I had a testosterone level of 98 nanograms per deciliter. So I'm not in the most anabolic situation, you could say. Now, I'm probably going to make a whole other video on my testosterone journey and how I've worked with my healthcare provider to improve that. But after 2 years of natural training, thankfully, I did not go on TRT. I saw 3 endocrinologists before I found one who was against the TRT route. And I'm thankful to find them, and I was able to restore my natural production without any testosterone replacement. But besides that, after 2 years of natural training, I can honestly say that I'm stunned with how I look now. And I'll put pictures of my physique currently. And to me, it's night and day. And I wouldn't say that given my stats starting out, that I have proper bodybuilding genetics and that I am necessarily on the good side of the genetic spectrum here. So if I can make progress like that, guys, I promise you can make progress in the gym as long as you start following the training principles that are preached by good long-term natural lifters who have been in the trenches and seen what gets results. Now, this is also a good time to address the so-called natural limit, right? You hear this. Even if a guy has gotten great results naturally, they'll say, oh, I'm at my peak naturally. I can't make any more progress. So I have to go on anabolics to continue to chase this journey, this dream. I want to get bigger, bigger, bigger. And while this may be true, I just want to take a moment to look at this logically. There is theoretically a limit to every level of lifting. And here's what I mean by that. So there's an asymptotic relationship between the gains you make and your maximum potential. First of all, no one is ever going to perfect their journey. So the maximum potential is if you literally spent every hour of your lifting career perfectly. If you recovered perfect, your nutrition was on point, you were doing all the volume you could recover from, perfect exercise selection, never got injured, never experienced stress, never had a poor night's sleep. And so no one is ever going to achieve that maximum potential naturally. And so you can always find something to improve, and there's always a way to go up when you're pursuing this natural lifting. So that's my little piece on the natural limit. But coming back to the limit on every level of lifting, for every dose of anabolics you take, there is a limit at which you can grow muscle on that dose. So let's say your natural limit was here, and then all of a sudden you went on 400 milligrams of testosterone. Now your limit is here, but there's still an asymptotic relationship, and eventually the gains will slow down. So you're left in this inevitable cycle of continually upping your dose in order to get the same quick response that you're expecting. And unfortunately, we see a lot of lifters get caught up in this early on. And like we said earlier, this can lead to a lot of health issues down the line. And it's something that I am not interested in. Touching back on the poor lifting advice and training principles that we see coming from the enhanced side of bodybuilding, I just want to outline an interaction that I had in the gym about 2 weeks ago. And I was performing the JM press. So it's essentially a lying tricep extension where you press down to your clavicle and back up. It's a great tricep builder. You get a crazy stretch on your medial and lateral head of the tricep. And I was performing those, and all of a sudden, an enhanced, very clearly enhanced lifter comes up to me, and he tells me that I need to stop doing JM presses because at the bottom of the movement, my biceps take over and they take all the load off the triceps. Guys, this is ridiculous. And anyone with any knowledge of biomechanics or has lifted for any period of time should understand that this is not possible. This is just not true. But this is someone who, no matter what they did in the gym, always saw results because their physique was coming from a needle. And that's something that, man, to me, if I build a physique, I want to know that I earned it. And there was nothing I was taking, no one was giving me anything to provide those results for me. And that's that self satisfaction and long term gratification that I'm pursuing in lifting. I want to conclude this video by saying that I hold no judgments towards anybody who uses anabolic steroids, right? It is quite literally your body, your choice. And I understand that if you want to pursue the craziest physiques out there and you are really hell bent that this is your life's purpose, then by all means, go down that route. But I think even if you believe that's the life that's meant for you, it's not going to be a very long one. And if you really are in love with the gym and you want to do this for the long term and you like the process and you are enjoying training, I would recommend staying natural. I think it's the only way to go. And if you want to continue to experiment and learn what works for your physique and what really gets results, staying natural is the only way to verify that what you're doing is working, tried and true, and it's going to give you that long-term satisfaction that an enhanced career, I believe, just won't give. Unfortunately, the modern fitness industry incentivizes maintaining a lean physique year-round. And the truth is, if you're a natural lifter, this is something that is going to really hold you back in the long term. And unfortunately, a lot of the big guys on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, literally the big guys, are enhanced and they give advice to their massive following without that caveat. And so you have a whole swath of natural lifters who are stuck in this perpetual cycle of novice purgatory, as Revival Fitness would say. I would say that for almost everybody, natural lifting is the way to go. Unless you really have a chance of making it on the Olympia stage and you are set in stone that that is the only that is the thing your life was made to do, stay natural. You can build a damn good physique in the gym and improve your health while doing it. You don't have to worry about the degradation you're doing on the inside while your physique blows up on the outside. Aside from just the physical issues, there are also mental issues that arise from taking anabolic steroids. Now, a lot of people think that the bigger they get, the more satisfied they will get with their physique. And I'll link a PubMed article to a study done on eating disorders and muscle dysmorphic disorders in male bodybuilders. But what they essentially found was at the highest competitive levels, you saw the most body dissatisfaction and the most comparison and the most eating disorder tendencies. So this is completely backwards from what we expect to see. And that's because oftentimes the steroids are just masking an underlying mental issue that is constantly comparing and looking to pursue a bigger and better physique. Anabolic steroids also directly cause mental health issues. It's pretty well documented now that steroids can cause anxiety and mania and even psychosis. You hear the term roid rage, and it's a real thing. There have been documented cases of people who have been driven to murder because of their anabolic steroid use. And this is explained by the downregulation of the limbic system in the brain. The limbic system is essentially the component of your brain that controls your rational emotions. And so, as that system gets downregulated through the constant exposure of exogenous anabolic hormones, so does your strength and the ability to hold back your anger and your emotions. And a lot of people end up suffering through their bodybuilding preps. You see these guys at the Olympia, and Mike Israetel touched on this. He said these guys, you'll get them in the elevator and you'll try and talk to them, and they're on so many anabolic steroids that they're the rudest people that you'd ever meet. And so, in my opinion, this is plenty reason to stay away from anabolic steroids because at the end of the day, even if the body on the outside looks great, all that we really have is how we feel mentally. And so if you look like Superman on the outside, but you are just wrecked internally, and you spend your entire day high stress, high anxiety, mad at the world, gosh, man, I'm you have to make a real tough argument to explain to me why that's more desirable than just going to the gym and still getting amazing results on your natural journey and actually getting benefits from the gym rather than having to deal with these downsides as you continue to pump your body full of hormones. So, if you really love the gym and you love lifting and you're thinking about using anabolic steroids, I would just encourage you to do some deep self reflection and do plenty of research because the information is there. It's clear what anabolic steroids do to you. Yes, they get you jacked, but there's a host of other issues. And unfortunately, the glorification of steroid use and these crazy physiques on social media now hides all the negative effects caused by these anabolic steroids. You have your whole life to lift and improve upon your physique and improve upon your routine in the gym and lift weights and chase PRs. I would hate for that journey to be cut short by a decision which trades off short term results for long term satisfaction. All right, guys, that's all I have for tonight. Y'all stay safe and y'all stay jacked. I'll see you in that next one.